Hello, my friends. Thanks once again for joining us this week. Luiz Lima here from Orlando, Florida. You are watching Kardec Radio, and this is another week of Spiritism, a closer look. Tonight, we are going to take a reflection upon catastrophes. We spoke about this a few months ago, but we wanted to add a little bit more information, maybe another layer, if you will, of information. And it's a vast subject. We could spend a long time here, a very long time, talking about it. So when we look at these natural disasters that we all have seen or heard of, tornadoes, tsunamis, the pandemic, that was a big one, hurricanes, earthquakes, widespread flooding, anything in those senses. We always have this, why? Why me? Why them? Why now? So I wanted to bring something very specific tonight, which is a natural disaster, so widespread flooding happening in the south of Brazil. In its southernmost state, state name is Rio Grande do Sul, symbol RS. So in this state of RS, so that you have an idea, uh, they have a population of 11 million people, and it's the size, approximate the size of the state of Colorado. Okay, that gives you some perspective. The state has 497 cities, and 67% of them is in state of emergency because of this widespread flooding that we're going to just quickly speak a little bit more about it because we're really interested in what's behind the scenes, per se, in the spirit world. So, right now, all these people and all these cities, 85% of the state is impacted directly, but 67% of the cities are in state of emergency. They have no power, no water, no gas, no food, uh, no, there are a lot, some people, a lot of people, they lost everything they had. And the reason, part of the reason why that happened is it's kind of similar to what happened in New Orleans when Katrina hit the city. In this capital city of this state, the levees could hold 3 meters of water. The level of water went to 5 meters. So from then, from that information, you can, just see what it was. This is something never seen before, not even close in the entire country. And that's why I'm bringing this in because it's on the news everywhere throughout the world, including us here in the US. So it's a calamity that they never had any reference for. Nothing. It's something new they have to learn. They are trying to learn how to deal with this thing from scratch so that you have a better idea. If you look at the topography of the state, if you understand it, the northern part of the state is at a higher level. That's where the mountains are. And that's where the source of all the rivers are. The lower part of the state, the south of the state, they don't have any mountains, just plains, a lot of plains. And that's what the state city, capital city is located. So the source of the rivers are on the northern part, and all of them come down with a tremendous amount of rain coming down to all into the same spot, which is very close to the capital city, Porto Alegre. And that place, that city or the surrounding areas became the meeting point of all the rivers in the state. That's awful, tremendous, unheard of amount of water running down south and spreading throughout all the state causes many cities to be submerged completely. As of, this took place, it really became worse 4 days ago on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. So far, more than 100 people were identified as dead people, and there's an unaccounted number of missing people. They have no idea of how many as of yet, and especially it's difficult to get to provide help to these people. Anyway, this is the situation. So in there, they are asking the same thing that we ask ourselves here when there's a critical hurricane, above the average, or a series of tornadoes above the average. And the question is all the same. Why? Why me? Why now? And so. So we need to, in order to fully address this from the spiritual point of view, and again, this depends on the belief system. Whatever you believe, whatever they believe. So there's no straight black and white answer that everybody agrees on. But Spiritism gives us a line of thought that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about this for a little bit. The universe is in constant movement or evolution. For that to happen, the planets will transform themselves. It's evolution, never stops. It's a dynamic, and it happens through dynamic cycles. Those are cycles. A thing never stops. So we will see, for example, things such as global warming, and then later on, thousands or million, whatever number of years after that, ice era, and then global warming again, then ice era, because that's the dynamics of the planet. But on top of that, you have the precession of the equinoxes, and all of these things create a displacement of water throughout the surface of the planet that changes all the time. The displacement of water is not all the same. When we are in global warming, certain areas are underwater. When we are undergoing the ice era, it changes. So, there's a movement of the bodies of water on the surface. And that creates situations like this, or potentially situations like this. Now, what is interesting is the planet, which is formed of inert matter, doesn't do it by itself. The planet doesn't do it by itself. There are intelligent principles behind everything. Matter by itself doesn't do anything. An atom of carbon cannot, doesn't have a personality. So atom of oxygen, same thing, hydrogen, whatever. So matter, as we know it, cannot do anything. It has to be manipulated, organized by an intelligent principle. So when we start looking at evolution, we have to understand this in two parts: spiritual evolution and material evolution. Material evolution, which we are calling the transformation of matter, the planet is one of them. It has to do with action taken by an intelligent principle. The actions taken by intelligent principles will interfere in the material world. That's how the intelligent principle develops. That's how they evolve, by interfering in the material world. However, the intelligent principle never ever stops thinking. So it is constantly interfering in the material world, causing transformation. So when we say transformation, Okay, but it has to be understood. There are intelligent principles making it happen. It might not be obvious, but it is this way. So, and any transformation of for transformation to take place operated by intelligent principles, you have to give up on the previous status of things. Otherwise, there is no transformation, there is no evolution. So, uh, the previous state of things have to be part of the past at one point. And you move on to the next stage, then the next one, then the next one. And for that to happen, for that transformation to happen, very often what we see is what we call destruction. So things are destroyed for something else to come brand new, if you will, in very simple words. However, when we say destruction, and if you go to the Spirit's book, you're going to see the law of destruction. Destruction here does not mean at all, whatsoever, does not mean destruction by human hands, like war, 9/11, nothing like this. It's destruction caused by natural disasters. So that type of destruction or these natural disasters, they are necessary evils. They will make us get out of our comfort zone to do something, to produce something, and avoid the same results that we were getting now. In the Spirit's book on question 737, Allan Kardec is going to ask him, why are there, natural disasters? How come such things are, they happen all the time? And the spirits respond promptly. Well, this is to impel humans to progress more quickly. So there's, if you will, right, there's a method to God's madness, per se. We might not understand. Now, the intelligent principle or spirit is immortal. Now, think about this. Immortal is not the same as static. It's rather a progressive journey towards perfection. So when we say that the spirit is immortal, it doesn't mean that nothing is ever going to happen to that spirit. No, it's exactly the other way around. It will evolve a little by little by uh, uh, acting upon the material world. In order to reach perfection, the intelligent principle, this spirit, will have to go through all experiences, all possible experiences, all possibilities. And those include facing catastrophes in all different forms, like we said in the beginning, tsunamis, flooding, all of those. The spirit will have to face material discomfort. The spirit will have to face lack of water, lack of food, because these are experiences that will be part of the journey of each individual intelligent principle towards perfection. The ultimate goal towards perfection is the practice of charity. And charity is something that we have a hard time with. And the reason is the voluntary practice of charity is not something that is automated in our perispirit, in our spirit. It's not automated. For us to do some sort of charity, we need to stop, think, put a strategy, and act upon it. It's just not something like this. Now, can you imagine Jesus before he do any sort of charity, whatever you pick, everything he did? Can you imagine him saying, okay, guys, I need to do this. Let me sit down here for a while. Let me think about this. Let me see how I'm going to do it. You're never going to, that never happened. Because charity or the practice of charity was fully automated in his perispirit, in his soul. So for us, we are not. So we need to be forced to face situations where the practice of charity takes form, at least to some primitive degrees. And for sure, every time there's a disaster of this magnitude, and we know several of them. I gave you some examples: tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes. Every time something like this is happening in Brazil, takes place somewhere, we all get together and we provide the best of charity to our ability, to our level of understanding. We are forced into do this. If things like this do not happen, we will not provide voluntary charity to the level that is expected from us. So, in a world of trials and expiations, like the earth being one of them, charity is usually relegated to a second plan. It's not priority. It's not priority. And that's because spirits on earth are mostly third order spirits. Great majority are third order spirits where evil overweighs good. So charity is very challenging for us. Immediate charity means something is happening. I'm going to do something right now. Means direct help. Of course, it helps, and it could come in two forms: material and spiritual, psychological. Imagine these people in the south of Brazil undergoing all of these things with kids, young babies and newborns, and the hospitals are closed and there's no water, there's nothing. Can you imagine the, the, the level of stress these people are facing? So spiritual, mental, psychological help is also necessary. Absolutely. It's not only material. Yeah, well, let's feed them. Yeah, let's try to provide water. Let's give them money so they can, you know, reestablish their lives again. But all of this has to have a second component, a second layer, which is the psychological. Now, there's a second layer to charity, which includes working towards creating conditions to avoid the same thing, the same disasters. When people, usually the government is supposed to do that. Governments all over the place, whatever place it is, wherever disaster it is, government is supposed, those in power are supposed to, let's look at this. What do we learn? This. We have to, take this particular action to avoid future trouble, and we need to follow this path because what we did wasn't really right. You see, all of this is a layer of charity because they're trying to do something that will, in the future, avoid people being suffering. So there is a component of charity in there. To create conditions to avoid such disasters with massive number of deaths. So there's an intention here for a charitable action or purpose. Now there's a third layer to this, which is to learn how to place collaboration or cooperation above competition. And that's sad because in disasters like this, we see a lot of people taking advantage of those who are suffering. For example, price hikes on gallons of water, price hike on food, on whatever else is needed. Basic things So those who have those things, they just price hikes. Another one, looting. People start looting, going into supermarkets, just picking up everything they see, destroying everything, every aisle. You see, that's competition. Rapes, they happen all the time in situations like this. So people taking advantage. There's no collaboration, there's no cooperation. It's the other way around. Another one, a conscious purchase of goods. For example, I go to the supermarket and I need to buy water for me and my family, for example. And if 2 gallons is enough for 3, 4 days, why would I buy 50 gallons when this is going to make some other people not having theirs? So it's something that we usually don't think about. So we need to establish priorities on situations like this. We have seen uh, tragical situations, disasters in Japan, and they are very committed to these things, to establishing priorities. They are very united when it comes to, getting out of the situation. For us, it looks like Darwin's survival of the fittest theory is the way to go. But I'll tell you one thing, Darwin's survival of the fittest theory does not work for humans. It's for the animal kingdom. And finally, we got the situation where justice, divine justice, comes afloat once again. There's revolt, there's the why me, the why it's happening, and so on and so on and so on. Let's think about this for a bit. On a situation like this widespread flooding down in Brazil, who were killed? Good spirits and evil spirits. Both of them discarnated. So it's not that God had a preference and he chose the good to stay and the evil to go, or vice versa. No, it's a mix, to use a modern term. It's a mix. Some people who had to discarnate were very good people, or good people. Some were, deep evil or simply evil. They were learning. They were at different points in the scale of evolution. Now, who are we to define who is good and who is evil? That's complicated. That's where we start to go wrong. All attempts to justify, to understand and justify God's actions from the human point of view will fail. So you will sound at the best like, this is God's tough love. But we struggle to understand this. Eh, We not necessarily understand God's method to help us in our betterment. It's like, for example, you take your dog to a vet. So he's going to get his vaccine, for example. He's going to be in pain. He's going to be, stressed. He's going to be, like fear. He doesn't want to be touched. He might be thinking like this, well, I love this human so much. Why are you doing this to me? And you, the owner, the human, you know exactly why you're doing it. And you will not back down because that is the right thing to do for the dog. He will not understand that though. That's more or less us and God. We don't understand and we think we're being punished. No. Things like this happen for a reason, which we've spoken here briefly. We need to learn. I'm talking about this looting and price hikes and all these things that we mentioned. As a society, we need to learn how not to sell our honesty, how not to sell our loyalty, how not to sell our soul. Because if we do, we are so far away from perfection. God gave each one of us a way of evolving and advancing through the knowledge of the good. It's in the Spirit's book. Through the knowledge of the good. That's what we need to learn. The good, not how to stay evil or to be more evil even. God wants us to evolve. God does not want us to stay small. Staying small is up to us and us alone if we desire to. So, in terms of evolution, we need to be inserted into a context that is outside the comfort zone and that can drive us to face our lack of collective thinking, our lack of collaboration, lack of brotherhood, and anything in that sense. And that's difficult for us. That's why we ask all the time, are these disasters, are these calamities just? Where is justice here? And then we're going to go to what Spirit Emmanuel teaches us in this beautiful teaching. Beautiful teaching. This is what it says. Human justice looks at the manifested cruelty. Okay, so in the example of these people in Brazil, what are we looking at? We are looking at people being killed by an outrageous amount of water that came down from the heavens, if you will. That's the manifested cruelty. That's human justice. Divine justice considers the outcome of the events. So the criteria is not the same. So the result cannot be the same. What we think it's not just from the human point of view, it's completely in line with divine justice. We just don't know how to interpret it because we are still very selfish without a sense of collective thinking, cooperation, collaboration, brotherhood. For those people in Brazil undergoing all the suffering, we send our prayers. They can be supported by the good spirits, being incarnated or discarnated, whoever needs help, that they can be served, that the high spirits can be with them. We pray for those who are making it difficult for help to find its way into the lives of those in need. Yes, because there are people in there making it difficult for help to get through and find these people. Even for those, we send our prayers. Thank you very much once again for being part of Spiritism, A Closer Look. We will be here next week, and Spiritism, A Closer Look, it's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much, and we'll see you then. Be well.